I expect to post several more videos over the upcoming weeks. There are a lot of topics I'd like to tackle: theism, atheism, arguments for the existence of God, why I believe we can trust the Bible, why I believe in the resurrection of Jesus Christ, and so forth and so on. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to the exchange of ideas that will doubtlessly result. This raises a couple of points. First is that I'm not able to personally respond to all of your mail messages. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. I engage in a lot of them. A lot of you have heard from me, both publicly and in private, but not all. I get a lot of different responses. Some are very civil, some are not. Some agree with me, some disagree. Among the people that disagree, some are very polite, and some are just downright rude, obnoxious, filled with personal insults, and otherwise impolite. I try to respond to as many of them as possible anyway. That's just my nature. But I can't respond to all of them. And sometimes it's just not worth the bother. If someone's being truly rude and obnoxious, then it's very clear that the discussion is going to be fruitless. If you're especially rude and obnoxious, or if your message just drips with derision, if it comes across like a runaway train, I might even block you. I don't like doing that. I've only done that to 2 people, and that's because sometimes it's just very clearly going to be a waste of time. I don't want to get in the position of just hurling barbs back at someone, or having an exchange of barbs that ultimately results nothing. I hope you understand that. Some of you, I think, will, some will not, and I'm sorry. At some point, I will also be disabling the use of comments. The reality is that as I add more videos, it will be increasingly difficult to keep up with all of these comments. Some people can just ignore those things. I can't. When I see that someone doesn't get what I'm trying to say, I feel obligated to respond. It's very difficult for me to control that impulse. If I see that somebody is perhaps just laboring under misconception, I also feel obligated to respond. If somebody raises a valid point, I often feel obligated to say something as well. That's just it's sort of the university instructor in me, or the professor in me. Now, I know some of you are going to gloat. Some of you will say, you're just afraid of criticism. You just don't want people disagreeing with you. You just can't answer their objections, and so forth and so on. You know what? You can believe what you want, but that's not it at all. I literally wind up spending hours on these discussions, and that's excluding the time it takes to create the videos in the first place. That's time that I would rather spend on other matters, such as work obligations, family, serving the community, and so forth and so on. The reality is, I have to work for a living. Some of you might not understand that. Perhaps some people have a lot of free time. I don't. No offense, but if you're willing to pay my salary, then I might consider doing this on a full-time basis and responding to your comments and so forth and so on. But that's just not an option at this point. I hate to phrase it that coldly. I don't mean to be rude by saying that, but that's just reality. It does not help that YouTube's messaging system is rather buggy. I have to keep going back to fix things, to fix comments that somehow did not get posted, to repost replies that somehow did not get posted either, and so forth and so on. It's an unbelievable time waster at best, especially given the volume of comments that I get and the amount of mail that I get. Now, some people complain about the fact that I choose to moderate the comments. I do so for a reason. It's a time-honored practice. You doubtlessly know that there are a lot of bulletin boards and messaging boards on the internet where comments are moderated. They do this to prevent the signal-to-noise ratio from going too low. The reality is, if you allow people to post and say whatever they want, it becomes a free-for-all, where the topic gets lost, go down all sorts of rabbit trails. You no longer have a focused discussion. And it becomes, how do you put it, fertile ground for just bandying about insults. And I don't want that. I don't want the discussions to stoop to that level. You can disagree with me if you want, but let's keep the topic civil and on topic. Is there potential for abuse in a system like this? Certainly, I agree. But that doesn't mean that the principle itself is bad. Okay? It's rather like a radio talk show host, where you can have call-in listeners, and some of them will agree, some of them will disagree. At some point, certain things just aren't going to get to the air, because they're just off topic or just plain abusive. Okay, well, does that satisfy everyone? No, people want their voice heard, but the alternative is chaos. I'm not preventing anyone from voicing their opinion, after all. You're more than welcome to voice your opinion somewhere, but I just don't want the discussions attached to these videos to degenerate into, mudslinging and invective hurling and way off-topic discussions. I think I've been fairly patient with some people, frankly, who did resort to insults and cheap shots. I let them get their digs in and responded in what I hope was a reasonably civil fashion, without letting myself be treated as a doormat. I even allowed some topics that were just some comments that are rather off topic. And I try to be patient with people. But at some point you have to draw the line. So to recap, I will be adding more videos. I'm looking forward to that. And at some point I will have to suspend the use of comments on these videos. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of impositions on my time. Like I said, if you'd like to pay my salary so that I can free up more time and respond to all of your comments, that'd be great. Until then, I have to draw the line somewhere, and I can't respond to all of your mail messages. And like I said, if you're going to be abusive or otherwise obnoxious about it, then you might wind up blocked. I don't like doing that. I do that very rarely and very sparingly. But sometimes it's just the smartest thing to do. Okay? So right now I have to focus on using my time productively, using my time well, and that involves avoiding fruitless discussions. Again, I apologize, but that's just the way it's going to have to be. And I hope that you understand.